Kalimera and welcome to Cyprus. Roll titles. Well, hi YouTube, Brian James at Micro Four Thirds guy with you once again, and welcome to a sunny Cyprus. We've left the snow and ice back in the UK where it's below freezing. It was -7.5 degrees centigrade when we set off for the airport yesterday morning, and it's a nice steady, well, temperatures dropped to about 20 degrees now here, so it's just nice and comfortable. But I've come across here with an object in mind, and that's to test two of these lenses. Now, I did consider doing this a little while ago. It's a back-to-back test of two of the lenses that I own, and I thought this is going to probably be one of the most common Micro Four Thirds videos on the market. But I was proven wrong. I think there's only maybe 1-2 videos covering this, and that is a comparison between this, which is the Olympus 25mm f1.8, and this one, which is the Lumix 25mm f1.7, and very similar lenses, and I've seen very few back-to-back reviews of these, and I thought it'd be worthwhile trying to do one. So what have we got? We've got two lenses which are fundamentally the same. They are both plastic construction, both with metal mounts, both very similar in apertures. 1.7, 1.8 is you're not even going to notice the difference. Both round about the same weight. The difference is Lumix, of course, Lumix give you the lens hood. Olympus, I keep on saying this, please Olympus, they cost pennies, give us a lens hood in the price of the lens. The big difference for me though is this is about £149 UK. This is almost double that price in the UK for a new lens. And is it really worth double the price? Well, let's see. Now, if you've noticed, you'll have seen that I've actually done a review of both of these lenses separately in this channel, and I'll put links above to both. Lumix first, and then Olympus. There we are. And you'll see that I've done reviews on both of these in the past, so if you want to find out the actual figures and all the specs and things, have a look at them. But this is an in-use sort of comparison of the two. And what I've done is I'll just stick a lens back onto this. Well, I think I'll stick the Lumix lens on this because it's a Lumix camera. I'm over here with my wonderful little, almost cult classic GX8, and I thought I'd try it on this. And what I did for the majority of these shots, and you'll see some pictures as we go through, what I did on most of these shots is I set it to auto ISO and set it to aperture priority, and put it to about f6.3, so the majority on f6.3 because it's a good mid-range sort of f-stop on that, so it should give you reasonably good across the board sharpness on all the photographs. Now, I haven't done any sort of real measurements on this. This is just taking them out and trying and see what I'll get, and you'll see either through the video or at the end you'll see a whole load of comparisons. But where I put two photographs together, you'll find I'm doing the Lumix lens first and then the same photograph on the Olympus. And it's been very much a day of swapping lenses, taking a photograph, swapping the lens over, taking another photograph, swapping the lens, and trying to get exactly the same photograph from exactly the same place and the same distance as way. So what did I find? Well, as I say, first of all, there's a price difference on these lenses, and that's what I wanted to find out, if it made a difference, if it was worth buying one or the other. Well, the construction of them, as I say, is both plastic, but Lumix feels, I wouldn't say cheap, but it feels inexpensive. It feels less classy. The Olympus has a sort of classiness feel to it. This has a very similar feel to the 17mm and the 45mm that I have. Closer to the 45 than the 17, but it feels a little bit more solid. The Lumix feels a touch more cheaper plastic. It's certainly durable. I think both of them are very durable, but the feel of the Olympus is just a little bit better. What's it like in use though? What's the image quality like? Well, I found overall that there were differences, and you'll see these as we go through. First of all, one of these isn't a 25mm lens. Yeah, I know they're both marked 25mm lenses, but one of them isn't. And how do I know that? Well, if you have a look through the comparison photos, you'll find that the Lumix is ever so much tighter for the same shot. Now, as I say, what I've been doing is staying in exactly the same place and just changing the lens over on the camera and straight off. All the rest of the settings are identical. And as I say, if you look at them, you'll find that on every single one, the Lumix is a little bit tighter, a little bit longer focal length than the Olympus is. So that was the first thing I noticed. The other thing I noticed was only towards the end, when I was looking through the EXIF information on the photographs, and that is that the Olympus here, well, the Olympus is a little bit of a brighter lens. It lets a little bit more light through, and that was noticeable because you're getting just short of a third of a stop difference in the light. If I was shooting the ISO being the same, the aperture being the same, if I was shooting the same thing on the Olympus, if the Olympus was being shot at 1300th of a second, the Lumix would be 1,000th of a second, having to stay open that little bit longer. If I was doing something on 3/20th of a second on the Lumix, it would be a 400th of a second on this. But what it does mean that the shots that you see, which I haven't adjusted at all, haven't done anything towards the colour balance, the exposure, the contrast, these are literally straight out of the camera as JPEGs and put straight onto here, so there's been nothing done to these photos. You'll find the Olympus look ever so slightly darker. There's not quite as exposed as the Lumix, and that suggests to me that it's not quite a full third of a stop. The camera's doing it in third of a stop increments, but it suggests to me that it's ever so slightly less than a third of a stop that this is. So there is a difference on the two between that. Is it going to be a problem if you're buying a lens, a single lens to use? No, you're not going to notice it. You're just going to expose for what you see, and that's going to be fine. But if you're doing a comparison, it is there. The other thing that I didn't notice on this is, if you have a look at the photographs that I've done of the plants, generally these aren't too bad. They're pretty much across the board at the mid-range at the f6.3. But the last few photographs where I was doing the plants, I'd really opened them up. So I was using f1.8 on the Olympus, fully open, and f1.7 on the Lumix, again fully open. And what I have noticed is that, and I don't know how good YouTube is actually going to be for putting these differences up. The trouble is when I put still photographs on the YouTube, they always look pants. So look at them and see what you want. But from what I saw when I was actually looking at the original photographs themselves, there is an edge to the Olympus. It has a clearer, it has a sharper image, and that is a noticeable effect on that. It really does give a bit of a sharper image, and it is noticeable between the two. The problem is it twice the price noticeable? And that depends on how you're going to use the lens. If you're buying this as a lens just to pop in your camera bag as a cheap prime to be able to get low light somewhere and to be able to get some of those shots that you don't normally get with your mid-range zoom, for instance, and it's one of those things you don't use very often, the Lumix is going to be absolutely fantastic. You're going to have no problem using the Lumix lens. It's going to be great for you. However, if you use prime lenses a lot, and I do tend to use prime lenses a lot, if you use prime lenses a lot and you're wanting to get really good results from it, I would go for the Olympus. The Olympus is that little bit sharper. It has a little bit more consistency, I would say, and that's why I would go for this one. But again, give me a lens hood, please. We're paying double the price of the one, and you don't even get a plastic lens hood. By the way, both the lenses have the fancy, normally have the fancy sort of finishing ring, just to finish off around the thing, which you would unclip to put the lens hood on. I hate them. They look very nice, but in actual fact, the first time you take them off, you put them down and you lose them. So my rings stay in the bag. I don't leave them on the cameras, on the lenses at all. So I don't know. It's just something I don't use. So the review samples here, you can see that they have the bayonet mounts on, but they don't have the nice fancy ring. I like the Olympus lens. I think it's a very, very good lens. What I did as well is we're having them both stopped down, and this is something which I've seen, which I've had comments on in reviews in the past when I've been doing lenses, them fully stopped down. What's it like in the corners? Is it real? Do you really lack sharpness in the corners when it's stopped down? Is this going to give you the big advantage? And what's the performance like in the corners? I haven't got a clue, honestly. When I'm stopping something fully down, it's for one of two reasons. It's either because I want to get the maximum amount of light in a low light situation, And then I'm probably battling against noise more than I am against softness in the corners. The other thing is if I want a really, really shallow depth of field and that real soft bokeh effect, well, if I'm going for the soft bokeh effect, it's going to, you know, my main point is in the centre, so the side pieces are going to be out of focus anyway. So why am I really worried if it's particularly soft in the corners when I'm fully wide open? It's not something I tend to report on because it's not something that's ever really bothered me in my normal shooting. So as I say, overall conclusion to me is that the Olympus is probably the lens I would buy for myself. But what do you think? Leave me a comment below because I really do appreciate the comments on this. Do you use either of these lenses? Have you ever done a back-to-back comparison like this? First time I've done it. What I haven't done is I haven't really talked about the autofocusing on this. And I would say that the autofocusing on the Lumix gets a bit of a hard time in some of the reviews. And it's mainly from people who are using it on Olympus cameras. On Olympus cameras, the autofocusing can be a little bit slow in comparison to the Olympus, especially when you're doing video. I'm not going to do a comparison on that because, again, if you have a look above, there'll be a link to Rob Treck's comparison on this, where he did a fantastic video comparison about the speed of autofocus on Olympus bodies with the two lenses. And the Olympus is considerably better on an Olympus body than the Lumix is. The Lumix lags. So I'll let you see Rob's excellent video on that one by the link that was just shown above. But insofar as stills photography, I found both of them be almost equally as quick. I couldn't really see anything different in use. But what I did do is, before I came away, I did shoot these on my EM1 Mark II Olympus, both the Lumix and the Olympus lenses. And there is a slight problem. And it's been noted by Rob, in particular on one of his videos, but a couple of other reviewers have noticed this. And I find that they're right. They are right. When you focus, there's about a 1 to 2 centimetre difference. So what you focus onto something, it'll be focusing just past it by about 1 centimetre. So you find out when you focus on, say, my eyes, the eye will be soft, but just beyond that will be in focus. It doesn't seem to happen on the Lumix cameras. It certainly does seem to happen on the Olympus, and I'm not the only person who's found that to happen. So if you are an Olympus user, again, I'd go for the Olympus, whatever. If you're a Lumix user, I don't see any problem with that one. Now, you can actually adjust that out on the Olympus cameras, so just be aware of that, but it's a pain in the backside to do, and to tell you the truth, it's not really worth it unless you're using super shallow depth of field with wide open apertures and you're doing a lot of portrait work. That's when you might notice it, because the eyes are going to go on the soft side. As I say, if you use this lens, either of these two lenses, drop me a comment below. And if you are a supporter on my Patreon channel, I just want to say real thanks to all the support that you've done. There's a list of these fabulous people who are patrons of the channel already. If you're not a patron of the channel, there's a link here if you'd like to join, because some of the videos they see before, and they also have specific videos just done for the patrons as well, and it does really help this channel to survive. The other thing is, if you just want to do a one-off assistance, buy me a coffee, as I keep on saying, then there's a link just here, and there are some fantastic people who've done that recently, and again, they are people who keep this channel going. It really is appreciated. Finally, give me a thumbs up, because that does keep the YouTube's algorithms on the ball and gets spreads of videos further and wider for more and more people to see. So until the next time, don't forget, keep on taking your camera out and keep on having fun with your photography. Brian James, that Mega 4/3 guy in sunny Cyprus. See you in the next video. Bye bye.